This is the New Age Cannabis Podcast, where we take a fresh look into all things cannabis on the African continent for Africans. Join us and our guests as we dive deep into conversation about cannabis, its possibilities, and its benefits.
Today on the New Age Cannabis Podcast, we're taking a look at all things business and entrepreneurship in the cannabis industry in South Africa.
Today's guest, we have Tebogo Tlhopane, Chairman and CEO of Biomuti and the Cannabis Trade Association of Africa. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us, what brought you to the plant?
Well, story short, I used to live in Southeast Asia, and upon my return, as everybody would do, you know, when you spend too much time outside the country, you just really want to be at home. And there were two businesses that I actually wanted to do when I got back. One was the jewelry manufacturing, because when I was in Southeast Asia, that's what I was doing. And when I got back, I realized that there is so much red tape in it. Even though, inverted commas, the government's supposed to make it easier for black businesses, black individuals to get involved. And I remember when I was one of the Diamond Indaba that was held in 2016, I actually made a bit of an embarrassment of our minister at the time, because I asked him, you know, really that for the past 25 years, we've lost almost 6,000 to 7,000 diamond cutters in the country. At the time when we were talking, there was about maybe 200. So it dawned to me at the time that, you know what, this is a waste of time, because the way it's structured is structured in such a way that anybody who's small will not going to be able to break into that ceiling. So my second business plan was natural medicine, and that was the birth of Biomuti as we know it. And at that time, cannabis was being a mainstream in a lot of different countries. The US was on the bandwagon of that. CBD was everywhere. But here at home, there was hardly ever anything. And it made sense that we start with cannabis as the medicinal plant when we started in 2017. So that's how really we got involved, in a sense that, you know, I realized that this is a medicine, and therefore there's an opportunity now that it's off the radar of illegality, that we can use it. Even though at the time it was still grey, but for the fact that it was grey, and I'm not the kind of person who would wait for a permission, I'd rather say sorry than say please. We started, and ever since we never looked back.
So tell us, why did you decide to get into biomedicine and start producing products?
Well, it's actually a very easy answer. If you look at the world right now, I think everybody is tired of using synthetic chemical medicine, and that's exactly what we have. If you go to a pharmacy, whatever pharmacy, whether you go to Clicks or Discam or any other known or unknown or independent ones, you've got only two choices. You're gonna choose from a brand
Or the generic?
or generic, but you never have another choice where you choose a natural plant-based medicine. I've lived in China, and in China, your typical pharmacy is far from what we have here. You have half of the pharmacy dedicated to traditional Chinese medicine, the other half dedicated to chemical-based medicine. So when you walk in there, the pharmacist knows both, and you have a choice to choose either or. But we don't have that here. I think the government tried, you know, recognizing sangomas, but they didn't go far enough to recognize what's coming out of the ground as medicine. Even today, your typical, you know, regulator that we have, SAPRA, they don't have knowledge about our traditional medicine. In actual fact, on their regulatory framework about the type of medicines that are there, you've got your Western herbal, that's where CBD is actually classified. You've got your traditional medicine, and you've got your Ayurveda. Nothing about African traditional medicine. So me seeing that triggered something in me, because I grew up with these traditional medicine. My grandmother is a Sangoma for over 45 years. When I was born in this environment. When I had a cough, she would make mhlonyane, and I would drink it. Terrible, tea, but in a day or so you are back to normal, So that inspired me to actually create Biomuti, to say, okay, I'm going to focus in these particular active ingredients of medicinal plants and use science to do it. Because each and every time when you talk to doctors about traditional medicine, they will say, well, you can't measure it. So my goal is to use biotech and medicinal plants, combine them together, hence the name Biomuti, to be able to come up with proper, healthy way of dealing with ailments without any side effects, without any of those things that are associated with chemicals, basically.
So how long have you been in the process of creating this, from the vision that you had to the brainchild and to the products that we see here today? How long has it taken you?
Well, the products were quite fast. I'm a quick learner, and so immediately when I started reading about the benefits of cannabis and the CBD and various other stuff, I then worked on formulations myself, and actually tried some of those formulations on myself, because some of the issues that I had at the time, I had eczema, I had ulcer symptoms that were exacerbated by stress, where my stomach would produce more acid than my lining is able to protect my gut. And then of course, what will happen would be that I'll have an ulcer pain. And ever since I've changed all of that. Oh, by the way, I was taking your lansoprazole, which are acid inhibitors. But the side effects of stuff like that, they start damaging your kidneys, they start damaging a few things in your body if you take them in a long term. And again, one of the bad thing about chemical-based medicine is that it's not there to cure you. It's just there to keep you on that that cycle all the time. And I think
save you from the symptoms.
Right. Really, at the end of the day, if you think about it, you are what you eat, right? If you could actually change your diet, you don't even need to take any medicine. If you think about it, our food, everything is just rubbish, completely. I say that, and I say this with conviction, is that we've been systematically poisoned, and then you go to see a doctor who's also part of the whole system, and the pharmacy world, they're also part of the system. So it's a whole get-rich system that just keeps you there. And when you get to the point where nothing can be done, they say, well, chemo, way to go.
Radiation.
And that's your finishing right there, done. So I think my inspiration and what brings me to making this is I want to be that third option. When you go to your pharmacy, generic, brand, herbal, natural plant medicine.
So tell us, what have been some of the challenges that you faced creating this baby, and what keeps you motivated?
If you've never created something from scratch, you don't have any reference. So you need to at least find someone who has done something similar and try and copy what they've done, or at least get inspiration of what they're doing. I find that, especially when you're looking at being black, and how many of black people that has a manufacturing facility, how many, so all these things are like uncharted territories, but I don't care about that, because I have a vision, I have a goal, and if it's something that I haven't done before, I find someone who's doing somewhere. There's always going to be somebody who's doing it somewhere, and you then use that to create your own path in your own setting, and by doing so, you are able then to create now your own references. So every success you make, that you achieve, then it becomes your references. Okay, I did that. You know what I mean? So going forward, just like you do, and very ambitious. And my ambition has led me to create some really crazy stuff. with what we're trying to achieve now by buying an existing pharmaceutical company, that's another, crazy ambition. But that's just me, because I don't think that anybody will give you anything. So if you want something, my belief is that you gotta go and take it. Yeah.
So if you don't mind sharing regarding the pharmaceutical company that you've just referenced, where do you see that going, and how do you see that purchase fitting within basically the cannabis industry that is coming? Obviously, regulations aren't where their final resting place will be. They're still in the process of being formulated. So how do you think going into that space now is, as an entrepreneur, is a safe one? And do you think that this is the right time to do that?
Absolutely. I mean, regulation is there. Just to correct you, CBD has two schedules: Schedule 0 and Schedule 4. And THC used to be Schedule 7, which meant that you can't touch it. Now it's Schedule 6, meaning that doctors can actually write a script for it. They don't know how to do it, but they can, basically, based on what the regulations say. So by investing into a business like this, we effectively are creating an environment where it could be easier for us to do our R&D. It could be easier for us to manufacture high THC content product, because THC, apart from popular belief, it's a medicine. The THC is a neuroprotectant. So people that have dementia, Alzheimer, they benefit a lot from THC because it will stop, studies that have come out, it will stop the progression of Alzheimer and dementia. And people that don't have it, it's good to start using even microdosing on THC to protect your neurons, so that you don't actually have to get that. If you understand how these diseases work, it's like calcification of your neurons and all that kind of stuff. So it stops that. That's why people deteriorate over time, because that calcification will continue. Again, that has been linked back into also your diet. So Alzheimer is now an autoimmune. So if you have an autoimmune disease, it turns out that down the line you might actually get Alzheimer's. So it's important for people to understand that your diet is actually also quite important. If you change that aspect of your diet, you may actually have to, get to that point.
Tebogo, tell us, what is the biggest or one of the biggest misconceptions you've heard about cannabis?
Well, that is not a medicine. I think that's BS. Anything in over excess, obviously, it's not good for you. We have things that are totally bad for you. Alcohol is top of the list I can think of. Alcohol is good for social setting, if you have 1 or 2 or 3, but if you go have 5 or 10, it's now you're drunk and out of control, right? And people get to be very aggressive on alcohol. Cigarettes. We've been known for years that it causes cancer. We know that, but we still do it, right? So why should it be any different to cannabis? Why can't we treat the plant as the plant that it is? If you're going to be doing regulations on anything, then regulate specific things on that. But the plant should be grown anywhere as far as I'm concerned. So cannabis, it's a medicine. And cannabis makes you chill. In actual fact, studies have shown in countries or states where THC is legal in a way, they call it recreational, I call it responsible adult use, they've dropped their alcohol consumption by almost a half. So what does that tell you? So whose best interest is it to keep cannabis illegal?
Good question.
Is there another cannabis question? So I want to speak to that one.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm 100%. So I guess I would say over time, my alcohol consumption has decreased to a point where, like, if I go a few weeks without alcohol, I'm like, oh, I haven't drank? Wow, okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And I think also in line with what you're saying, in the States, they also found that it aided in terms of drug use, specifically in terms of opioids.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's a medicine and it helps people recover better from whatever it is that they were.
It's an amazing analgesic, right? Analgesic means that as a painkiller, natural. If you do a 1-to-1 ratio of THC and CBD will counter the effect of THC, so that you don't get high or anything like that. But if you are in serious pain, and we give you that formulation, no pain. So, and if you then compare that with your really strong pharmaceutical drugs that have codeine and all sorts of things, that are very, very, if you want to talk about something that is habit forming, it's that, where people, literally there are people, the country actually had to cut down the number of codeine-based tablets that you could actually buy from a pharmacy, because people were just buying it and just, even though there's nothing wrong with you, but because you're used to it, you just take it all the time, right? They actually cut down the pack sizes, or otherwise they would have cancelled the whole thing. So pharmaceutical companies negotiated, so let's make a 12-pack. And when you buy, you have to register your name so that you don't have to come back again over and over again. So this is a way to curb it, but it's foolish, because all you gotta do is just say, let's do mainstream cannabis into our products that we can give to people to choose from. Sapra has come up with pack size of CBD 600 milligram and dosage at 20 milligram. That's a joke beyond any joke, because there's no science base behind it. It makes no sense. We know the safest amount of CBD is about 800 milligram a day, and really, you know what I mean? So if you really want to have a proper effect of cannabis and CBD, you gotta increase your dosages properly so that you can actually get those effects. I think they did it just to, prove to people that it's not working.
So, we know that cannabis has many benefits. If you had a magic wand and you could produce any product from cannabis, what would it be?
Well, I think personally for us, our biggest problem globally, even in nature itself, is plastic. It's the biggest problem, and everything has got plastic in it. Everything, and yet we can't get rid of it. If you bury plastic, we'll be there for another million years. So cannabis, with its cellulose, we can actually produce a biodegradable plastic.
Yes.
I think if there's anything any smart government would do, would be to put all the resources they've got and say, make plastic.
I am ready. Just saying.
That is one of Aku's passions, is actually just sorting out not just the plastic issue per se, but the sustainability issue around non-cannabis products, essentially. Because, like you said, there's plastic for your straws, there's plastic bags.
Everything. I
all
mean,
kinds.
they've got paper
Everywhere.
straws.
Oh, those are
Horrible.
worse.
You
melt.
could taste the paper when you're
as
drinking
you're-
your drink.
And
So
the
it-
pasta straws. Pasta straws for me, that's food on somebody's table that you're using as a drink straw, and then you throw it away. So if you're trying to counter pollution, but now you're taking resources for food, So it's a bit of, you need to balance it properly.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, pasta, it's got wheat in it.
Yeah, and we're anti-pasta. We don't care about pasta anyway.
Yes, we are moving on to the other stuff that I don't remember that you said that is a replacement for pasta.
The wheat, the
Buckwheat,
coconut,
there we go, that was one.
the quinoa.
Quinoa, that was
Yeah.
the one. There we go.
Quinoa,
Yes.
quinoa flour.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I
I'm
haven't seen
interested.
quinoa flour.
Woolies, I
Maybe
think,
at
has
the
something.
health
Yeah.
shop.
Yeah, in the health shops. So Tebogo, the cannabis industry in South Africa is very new. As a black man, what have your experiences been, and are there any lessons you'd like to share with any budding cannabineurs?
Well, I think I mentioned this earlier, that when you're starting something like this, you don't have a reference. So you can't imagine it. If you can't imagine something, you can't really get to it. If you follow what I'm saying. Everything is really based around your ability to project to the universe, and the universe will return what you're asking, right? So don't really spend your time worried about things you can't get, because you're not gonna get them. Worry about the things that you want to get. Right? Don't pay much attention on what you don't want, because you're gonna get that. Pay more attention on what you want. So I don't spend my time with what I don't want. I don't even know what the hell that is. I spend my time with what I want. So, and you find that somehow magically things come together. It's not magic. It's just that, the universe is reciprocating what you're asking for. So But you gotta have that ability to imagine it. But if you haven't done it, you can't imagine it. So for you to imagine it, you gotta then look at someone else who has done it, and then imagine that, and then be able to then create from there. So there isn't really a lot of, I would say, groundwork that will help you. Government has all these programs which each and every time we apply for them, we never really get it. So I really don't know what they do, but we never lose hope nonetheless. So, you know, I always make myself available for people that want to learn about what we do. And part of the reason that we are buying this facility is that it will enable us to then create products, white label them for people to just, you know, grab them and sell them. Business in a box kind of thing, right? You don't have to worry about actives, you don't have to worry about track and trace, you don't have to, all this stuff. So we do all those things for you, and we white label it for you. And there's a need, because there's someone who would say, look, I have my own brand and I want to get into CBD, but I don't know how. So instead of going through the same teething process that we went through, you just, you know, contact us and we make it for you as a white label product. So these are the kind of things that we are buying this facility for, that specific things. There are certain things you can't find here. With SAHPRA's limiting us to 20 milligram for per dose, when you make, so you can't even buy an existing formulation of, say, a soft gel, say CBD soft gel. The CBD soft gel that are out there in the world is 25 milligram. The smallest you have is 10, but it's the same cost. So makes no sense. So we are going to create these kind of things so that you can get them here at home. You don't have to, go overseas to go seek them. Yeah.
So in terms of owning the pharmacy and going white label, are you saying that, I guess from your side, that vertically integrating the cannabis industry, or your business within the cannabis space, is not the way to go? Well, let me rephrase. That's a bit of a leading, but essentially you described a non-vertically integrated business. Do you think that's viable for the coming cannabis entrepreneurs in terms of essentially focusing on what their core business is and getting their products from the essential source?
Well, I think what you will probably find, especially within the black community and all the other communities, is that people have special skills, and one of them will probably be retail. So if you know how to sell stuff, you don't need to know how to make it, right? If somebody has made it easier for you, and you can make money from the white label product. So, but me, on the other hand, when I started, there was nothing, right? So we had to create things from scratch. And I find that it's my responsibility then, if I've started from scratch, to then create the entire framework to make it easier for the next person to come in and do it. If you want to start where I started, it's up to you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. You know what I mean? But if you just want to shortcut the whole thing and jump into the product, we are here to do so for you. Yeah.
We know that cannabis has a lot of stigma to it. How has the market accepted your product, especially for non-cannabis users?
Well, packaging. I think it's important to make sure that you put your best foot forward when it comes to what your product looks like. Our product is world class. It doesn't look as if it's made in South Africa. And that was the kind of approach we were going for, to make sure that you're creating a best product there is. And if you're going to be talking about umuti, you got to make sure that, because when you talk umuti, people are thinking, yay, little white little packet with dried stuff in there, buy a ganda, and then they give it to you. We're not talking about that. It's umuti, but extracted using science, and everything is measured and weighed. So every dosage, it's accounted for, so that when you take any of our products, you know exactly what you're taking, and it's labeled, and it tells you how to take it. And you don't find that. A lot of the mainstream stuff that's out there, you don't even have a label. I mean, I had people coming to me saying, well, I'm using CBD. And my first question would be, what's the strength? What's the milligram? I don't know. Okay. Where did you buy it? A friend of a friend of a friend, right? And that's kind of the reason why we created the Cannabis Trade Association as well. Not only to be a thorn on Cyprus side, but also to be the educator and self-regulate ourselves to make sure that any product that has that mark, Cannabis Trade Association on it, bears that mark because the product in it, it is what it says it's inside, which is very important.
Thank you, Toboko. Can we just quickly touch on the CTAA, the Cannabis Trade Association of Africa? What was it created to do and what is its purpose?
Well, again, answering the call for trying to self-regulate within the industry is concerned. It's new. There's a lot of cowboys out there, snake oil salesmen. And it's important to educate the public about the right kind of stuff and get it in the right place. And at the same time, be the lobby group, talking to government and government department, and then educate and most importantly litigate. Three core things that I say the Cannabis Trade Association stands for: educate, lobby, litigate. And we don't want to litigate, but in our country, a lot of things get done by going to court. Some of the decisions that I make are irrational, makes no sense. Like the 20 milligram dosage a day, it's irrational, makes no sense. The 600 milligram per pack size makes no sense, and it's completely irrational as far as we are concerned, because there's no science that's backing that decision. And we've asked SAPRA numerous times, what is the science that's backing this thing? Because it makes no sense to us. Hopefully we'll get those answers and we'll then plot a course. But I think it's important to have such an organization, especially in such a infancy of the industry, to be able to get some sort of a standardization and making sure that people like the experience you've had, that you don't actually have to have that experience ever again. Because that, you would ask, are you a member of the CTA? No, sorry, I'm not gonna eat at your place, right? Because, I don't know where this stuff comes from, do you know where it comes from? That kind of stuff. So with this, it helps with education as well, where we'll make educational packages for individuals, people, the public, to understand how cannabis works, the do's and the don'ts, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the whole point behind the CTAA.
Okay, thank you.
So where would you like to see the industry come to in 5 years' time?
Well, look, we've put together proposals to the government, and we've said, if you can let this loose, we're guaranteeing 500,000 jobs in that same period. And it's very easy, really, because if you look at the value chain of this, right, you have growers, you have extractors, you have product manufacturers, formulators, you have retailers, right? This box, somebody has to make it. That label, somebody has to design. So the value chain across, it's humongous. And not just the medicinal side of it, just the entire plant itself. We talked about making plastic using cannabis cellulose, plant cellulose of the cannabis plant, paper. We are destroying trees for nothing. It's actually very stupid, to say the least. Companies that are in paper manufacturing, they are get up to just, plant trees, cut them up and make paper. It takes a very long time for a tree to get to maturity. Cannabis plant, you can harvest 4 times a year and you have all the paper you want. So again, it's stupid. So I think, we'll try our level best to make the politicians see. We have no idea what is it that blocking their thought process. It's unfortunate, but we'll continue engaging the way we are engaging to say, look, there's a sunrise economy. It's no more mining. Forget mining. And in actual fact, we learn nothing from mining. We gave international companies licenses to come and destroy our environment. And after destroying it, they don't even fix it. If you go to Soweto, you've got mine dumps everywhere. In August, the dust you can't even see. Nobody does anything about it. The guys took their money, they left. So I think we need to think differently. We need to think smart. As an African country, we have the sun. We can literally grow cannabis for days without having to, grow them inside a shelter. In Germany, it costs them millions to grow cannabis. Here, nothing. Just sun, and water, and nutrition. So, anybody with a sound mind, and I'm not suggesting that we grow, harvest, and send, the dry flower to Germany. I'm suggesting we grow, we harvest, we extract, we make product, we sell them the product, and they can put their label however they like. And that's the future that I see, and that's the future that I'm going to create, with or without government. It would be great if they are part of it, because it will make our life easy.
Where can we find more information or resources that you can point our listeners and viewers to?
So from the Cannabis Trade Association side of things, you can actually go to Cannabis Trade Association, ctaa.org.za, and you can find out the list of companies that are actually our members at the moment. And we are on a drive to recruit more and more manufacturers, retailers, growers, ancillary services providers like lawyers, accountants, anybody who wants to be in a cannabis space can be a member with us. There's different tier membership. There is on the website there's different tiers of different kind of membership depending on how much you can afford. So everybody is literally welcome to become a member.
Teboho, where can we connect with you and where can we find you?
Okay, so we have an online store, biomuti.co.za or biomuti.com, and we also are found at distributors like Taste of Cannabis. They've got 6-7 stores around the country, growing very, very fast because really people really want to try out these different CBD-based products. We are also in talks with your Discam and Clicks, and we hope that by next year we should have we should be found in one of those. We are on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is hashtag Biomuti1, and we're on Facebook as well. Biomuti. I think it's at Biomuti.
Yeah, it's at.
And we're also on Instagram. We try to also create a lot of information and education as much as we can, so that we educate the public as much as we are able to. I've done videos educating about diet and stuff like this, and how you can improve your life or your health for that matter, which can be found on YouTube as well. If you go to Ask Teboho, you'll find a whole list of different stuff there. We try to do as much education as possible, but we hope that by engaging with us and various other platforms we are more than willing to assist and engage with people and engage with distributors. Anybody wants to carry our products into their stores, they've got a little health store, and they want to have CBD, homegrown, South Africa, proudly South African products, we are there.
What would you say if they said to you, look, the market isn't there, and based on the stigma, no thank you?
Well, contrary to what they would say, because if you go to Clicks, there's about 4 or 5 CBD brands. Discam, same thing. In actual fact, something that I have a problem with, but I think it's another discussion for another day, is that the same retail groups, they have their own brands that are coming out of really a lot of different competing products. I find it anti-competitive, and I think it's also going to kill the ability of people to be in mainstream retail network, because if you go to Discam and Discam have their own CBD range or whatever particular product, what do you think they'll sell most?
Their brand.
Exactly. So this has to be addressed. I think I'm an activist when it comes to stuff like this. If you want to change the plight of South Africa and want to elevate black people, to do so would not be these BE transactions that have been taking place at a high level, which we don't even get exposed to. It's this grassroots foundation of products being generated. and go through manufacturing processes and that kind of stuff. I think that will, whether it's a hair care product or whatever it is, for me, it's important that they have been given shelf space so that they're out there. And of course, it's our responsibility as manufacturer of these products to do a pull effect. So we advertise in mainstream medias and various other avenues so that people will know what we sell. So the excuse of stigma, CBD alone, during that process when we were giving a waiver by the Department of Health, there were over 100 million rands worth of sales. So it's growing, and it's growing fast. So I think, that whole, situation where they're gonna tell you stories, we've heard it.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that it's not true because there's a demand. More and more people are switching from chemical-based medicine to natural-based plants medicine, and that's exactly what we are.
So yes, so essentially they need to start investing in local value chains.
Absolutely.
So the companies that can show a local value chain is what I'm hearing from
Yeah.
you, because like you said, BE transaction where the value chain isn't from here, then what's the
No,
point?
in actual fact,
What
with
have you
the
done,
BE
actually?
transactions,
Enriched
it's
one
a
person.
buy-in at the top.
Correct.
And I can tell you, it does not create any job, right? How is it creating jobs? Because the
For one
status quo
person.
stays. It's one person who sits there, gets a mega deal, and if you look at the structure down, it's all Lily White, right? Management, executive Lily White, middle Lily White. So it makes no sense. So by creating things, making things, now that's creating jobs, because from there on now it's just if someone does the same thing that I'm doing, another one does, it's exactly that. You're creating more and more jobs because you have to employ people to make stuff, you have to employ people to package, you have to employ people to all sorts of things. So that's key for me. That's why I say let's put value in products. Let's stop this whole notion of there's a market out there. Market is here. Let's create products, and if we create these products, we put them into these shelves of these companies. Clicks has got 800 retail outlets. Dis-Chem's got about 106 retail outlets. That's a lot. And I'm not even talking about independent pharmacies. So there's opportunity here for everybody to make money in a value chain and to actually uplift black people from where they are to the next level.
Yeah, the more you attack value chain in terms of job creation, in the long term, what you see is actually the income of those people starting to rise because they're value contributing and they have skills. So yeah, no, that's definitely a good direction that the cannabis industry should be going in.
Absolutely. All industry, for all I care.
Yeah.
All industry. Because
Create
if we
jobs.
if we can get this, one by one, you immediately start, changing people's lives every day.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Tebogo. Remember to subscribe to our channels for more updates on the New Age Cannabis podcast. The links and more information are in the description box below.